Hi, I'm Amanda. I need to share what happened after my ex-husband Derek's death because people deserve to know what his family is capable of. Even now, it feels unreal how quickly everything spiraled into chaos. I was finalizing a deal on a beautiful beachfront property when the call came. Derek had suffered a fatal heart attack. My first thought wasn't him but our 8-year-old son Tommy, who was at school. Breaking the news to him was one of the hardest moments of my life. "But I just saw Daddy last weekend," Tommy whispered, clutching his stuffed bear. "He promised to take me fishing." "I know, baby," I said, holding him tightly as tears welled up. They weren't for Derek. Our marriage had ended 3 years ago when I caught him cheating. But for my son's heartbreak. My phone buzzed incessantly, mostly with messages from Derek's family. His mother, Barbara, the self-proclaimed queen of our town's social scene, was already planning an elaborate funeral. She never missed a chance to put on a show. That evening, over dinner, Tommy poked at his peas. "Mom, they're saying it's your fault." I froze. "Who's saying that?" "Aunt Nancy. I heard her talking to Uncle James at school pickup. They said mean things." My grip on the fork tightened. Nancy and James, Derek's siblings, had always despised me. They never thought I was worthy of their golden boy, even though I was the one who ended things after his betrayal. Later that night, my best friend and the sharpest lawyer in town, Sarah, called. "Amanda, you won't believe this. Barbara's been telling everyone you stressed Derek into a heart attack." "Are you serious?" I groaned. I barely spoke to him outside of Tommy's stuff. "She's on a warpath. James was at the country club spreading rumors that you were trying to squeeze more child support out of Derek before he died." I sank into the couch, exhausted. "That's ridiculous. I haven't even filed for modifications. I've been swamped with real estate." "Listen, the funeral's tomorrow," Sarah said. "Want me to come?" "Please," I sighed. "It's going to be a circus." And it was. Barbara arrived looking like she was accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award, with Nancy and James trailing behind her like loyal attack dogs. The funeral was barely over when Barbara announced that the will reading would take place immediately. Sarah leaned over and whispered, "She pushed for this. She's convinced everything's going to the family." As the lawyer read Derek's will, the room fell silent. As per Mr. Derek Mitchell's final wishes, the majority of his estate, including the family business shares and primary residence, will be held in trust for his son, Thomas Mitchell, until he reaches the age of 25. The silence lasted all of 2 seconds before the room erupted. "This is outrageous." Barbara's face turned scarlet. "He promised the company would stay in the family." "Tommy is family," I said firmly, keeping my voice steady. Nancy shot to her feet, knocking over her chair. "You manipulated him. You made him change it." "Derek made these changes 6 months ago of his own free will," the lawyer said, adjusting his glasses calmly. James jabbed a finger at me, veins bulging in his neck. "She's poisoned everything she's touched since day one. This isn't over, Amanda." The chaos followed me home. Later that afternoon, while finalizing another deal, my phone exploded with notifications. My security system was going off like crazy. Sarah called before I could even check the footage. "Amanda, get home now. Your neighbor called me. Nancy and James broke into your house." My heart stopped. "Where's Tommy?" "He's okay," Sarah reassured me. "He's scared, but he's safe." Mrs. Peterson, our neighbor, heard the commotion and called the police. By the time I got home, after breaking every speed limit, police cars lined the driveway. Tommy ran to me the moment I stepped out of my car, tears streaming down his face. Mom, Aunt Nancy, and Uncle James came through the back door. They were yelling and throwing stuff. Officer Martinez approached, his notebook in hand. "Ma'am, your son was upstairs when the suspects entered. He had the presence of mind to hide in a closet and call your neighbor. Smart kid." I hugged Tommy tightly, my heart pounding. "Did you catch them?" "They fled when they heard the sirens," Martinez explained, motioning to my doorbell camera. "But your footage is clear, and your security system caught them breaking the back door lock." As I reviewed the footage with the officers, Sarah arrived. There they were, Nancy and James, breaking into my home, their actions and words captured in horrifying detail. "Find the will." Nancy hissed on the recording. "Barbara says it has to be here somewhere. Check his room. That brat might have papers in there too." My hands trembled with rage. I want to press charges. Already working on it, Sarah said, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. They crossed a line, Amanda, breaking and entering, endangering a minor. They're not walking away from this. That night, as I held Tommy while he finally fell asleep, my phone buzzed with a text from Barbara. You brought this on yourself. I took a deep breath and called Officer Martinez. Time to show them who they're messing with. The rumors started the next day. Barbara was working overtime, spreading lies about me. My phone stopped ringing at work. Clients canceled appointments, and people whispered when I walked into the grocery store. Sarah stormed into my office, waving her tablet. You need to see this. Barbara's posting all over social media, claiming you manipulated Derek into changing his will while he was sick. But Derek wasn't sick. He had a sudden heart attack. Exactly, Sarah said, handing me a stack of documents. And look at this. Derek's family tried to sabotage you during the divorce. They filed complaints to get your real estate license revoked. My coffee turned cold in my hands as I read through the evidence. I had no idea. Sarah flipped to another page. And the family business, practically bankrupt. They've been hiding it for months. Derek knew. That's why he protected Tommy's inheritance with a trust. Before I could respond, my computer pinged with an email from Tommy's school. My stomach dropped. Nancy had shown up at his lunch break, telling him I was stealing his dad's money and that his grandma misses him so much and just wants to talk. She violated the restraining order, Sarah muttered, scribbling in her notepad. What did Tommy do? He ran to the principal's office, I said, pride and worry mixing in my chest. Smart kid. Sarah's phone buzzed. My contact at the bank came through. Want to know why they're so desperate? The family's been taking out loans against the company for years. They're millions in debt. I pulled out my own files. I've been documenting everything. The break-in, the threats, Barbara's posts, recordings of their calls. Sarah grinned. Perfect. And get this, 3 other people have come forward about Barbara blackmailing them in the past. The DA is very interested. My phone buzzed again. Tommy misses his real family. Stop poisoning him against us. Sarah smirked. They're getting sloppy. The more they harass you, the stronger our case gets. Hours later, we had a mountain of evidence, financial records, harassment documentation, witness statements. But Sarah warned, they're going to crash hard, Amanda. People like this always do. We just need to protect Tommy from the fallout. She gestured to my phone. Did you see today's post? Barbara had shared photos of Derek and Tommy, claiming I was erasing their family bond. More evidence, Sarah said with a grim smile. You know what gets me? Derek tried to warn them. Look at this, notes from his last board meeting. He knew they were running the company into the ground. I stared at the growing stack of evidence on my desk. So, what's our next step? We let them dig their own grave, Sarah replied. The DI is ready to move on the breaking and entering charges. Once that hits the news, others will come forward. Barbara's house of cards is about to collapse. The next morning, I drove to the courthouse, my mind racing. Reporters packed the steps, cameras flashing as the story of the prominent Mitchell family's downfall spread like wildfire. Inside, Nancy and James sat at the defendant's table, their smugness gone. They looked nothing like the arrogant pair who had broken into my home. This wasn't just justice, it was a reckoning. The defendants knowingly violated a restraining order, broke into my home, and endangered a minor child. The state sought the maximum penalties, and the evidence was undeniable. In the courtroom, the security footage played on massive screens, showing Nancy and James ransacking my house while Tommy hid upstairs. The audio captured their chilling voices plotting to find and destroy Derek's will. Their pale faces betrayed their panic as the judge listened intently. 2 years, Sarah whispered as the judge handed down the sentence, plus 5 years probation and strict no-contact orders. But the courtroom drama wasn't the only bombshell of the day. Across town, Barbara's business partners stormed into her office, armed with evidence of financial misconduct. She had been forging documents and moving money to cover the family's spiraling debts. By sunset, she was voted out of her own company. Later, my neighbor texted me photos from the country club. Barbara had shown up for her usual lunch, only to be turned away. They'd revoked her membership. When she caused a scene, security had to escort her out. That evening, Tommy and I settled into our new home on the other side of town. The security system was state-of-the-art, and our neighbors knew nothing about the Mitchell scandal. "Mom, is Grandma Barbara going to jail too?" Tommy asked over a slice of pepperoni pizza. "No, honey, but she lost her company and all her friends. Sometimes that's an even worse punishment." "Good," Tommy said firmly. "She was mean to you. Dad wouldn't have liked that." The local news couldn't get enough of the Mitchell family's downfall. Barbara, once the queen of high society, was now a pariah. Her former business partners unearthed years of fraud, and the DA began building a civil case. Meanwhile, Nancy and James were headed to prison. Sarah called with updates almost daily. "You'll love this. Remember those people Barbara blackmailed? They're all filing lawsuits. She'll be in court until she's 90. 3 months later, life felt completely different. I closed on my biggest property sale yet, and my real estate business was thriving. People loved an underdog success story. Tommy was flourishing at his new school, making friends who liked him for who he was, not for his family name. Through the grapevine, I heard that Barbara had to sell her mansion. Nancy and James, on the other hand, were sharing cells in separate facilities. The once mighty Mitchell family had been undone by their own greed and spite. One evening, Tommy found an old photo of Derek. "Dad protected us, didn't he? That's why he changed his will." "Yeah, buddy," I said, my voice soft. "He did one thing right." As I tucked Tommy into bed that night, a final text popped up on my phone. The sender was an unknown number. Barbara. She was apologizing and begging to see Tommy. I stared at the screen for a moment before blocking the number without replying. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Looking out at our backyard, I imagined Tommy practicing baseball tomorrow. I smiled to myself. We hadn't just survived the Mitchell's onslaught. We thrived despite it. And that, I realized, was the best revenge of all. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have given Barbara a chance to apologize to Tommy, or was I right to keep that door firmly closed? Some people say kids should know their grandparents, but others believe toxic family members should stay gone for good. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed my story of standing up to manipulation and protecting my son, please like this video and subscribe for more real-life stories that make you think. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought right at home.